What if I told you that a single courtroom strategy is secretly turning the public trust upside down? Tonight, we're exposing how a few defense attorneys are using purely psychological tactics to make you question every cop's integrity. They don't even need a shred of proof. This isn't just a legal defense, it's a silent war on the actual truth, and it's undermining the safety of you and your community. We're talking about the players from the Karen Reed case. It's Commissioner Cox, Kelly Dever, Alan Jackson, maybe even a little Michael Proctor. This is the Comm Center.
Whose lie is it anyway? Woo!
I like that nice throwback, Drew, to that old show. I'm John. I'm an actual 911 dispatcher. I've been doing this job in my community for 11 years. I'm joined, as always, by authentic cop Drew Breezy. He's not just a guy that was a police officer for 29 years, but he also has the worst takes on the internet. I mean, this is a guy that said H.H. Holmes, he pioneered extreme escape room technology. That's how bad he is. Drew, we're tacking again tonight. The eternal seed in your craw, Karen Reed. What is it that's been boiling your blood this week?
Oh, there's a lot boiling my blood about this case, and it's been kind of bubbling over for a long time. It's not just the case itself; it's the way the defense attorneys are kind of going about things. And when I say the defense attorneys, I'm going to tell you right up front, I am a huge fan of LawTube. I watch Emily D. Baker. I watch Lawyer You Know. I watch Brother Counsel. I love those guys. I learned so much watching them, but I disagree with them on so much stuff. And I admire and respect all of their experience, but I think that because we are in the profession we're in, John, that we are overlooked or we should immediately be discounted and we have no credibility for some reason. And I have no axe to grind. I'm just going to sit here and tell the truth. Just the stuff I know from my experience and the stuff that I've kind of researched. So, you know, John, that we did a whole series on Karen Reed. And in the first episode we did, we were kind of like, man, this is really weird. Like, I can't believe that that they're going through with this, that they're going to prosecute her again. And then as the series went on, we were like, oh, come on. This is ridiculous. This whole conspiracy theory and all this other stuff. So
speak for yourself. I believe that she is innocent and that you were wrong.
You believe that
I throw myself to the mercy of the free Karen Reed movement, which hates you so much.
Oh, they do. They truly hate me because I fought back. I think that they're not used to hearing people fight back. And I think that a few of them thought they were going to get me in trouble with my former police agency. Like, I've been retired for 4 years. Like,
yep.
So go ahead and call internal affairs. They got their hands full right now where I used to work. So, but here's the deal, John. We are not going to retry this case. And so that's the good news. We're just going to talk about how the defense attorneys are kind of using the court of public opinion to undermine law enforcement's legitimacy. It's kind of like an online telephone game. And by the way, trials in 2025, in 2026, probably from here on out, are definitely trial strategies are worked out in the comments section of those very LawTube channels that I talk about. And we're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk about like the intricacies of that.
All the more reason why you should leave a comment if you're watching this video. Do you think Drew is an idiot?
Hopefully.
Leave a comment below.
Yeah.
We responded 99.9% of that. And Drew is already on pills for his blood pressure. But if you want to push him over the edge and put him in an ambulance tonight, go ahead, leave a comment below.
Boil Drew's blood. So this is how it starts, John. While the attorney's primary goal is to secure a favorable legal outcome for their client, which I completely understand, their methods for managing public perception often mirror the techniques used in propagandist campaigns, like to influence beliefs and behaviors. And it's effective manipulation of public narratives, and it shouldn't be that way.
Emotional people are easily misled, and you get a case like Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, and you're able to stir up emotions.
Yeah.
The free Karen Reed movement is nothing if not emotional, and those people can be easily misled because they are so emotional.
and they're not tied to the truth. So that this is the beauty of it. Like the arm of, we'll say Turtle Boy or whatever, like that part of it that's able to organize, he's not necessarily tied to the truth. He's just tied to the social media aspect for it. He's just trying to fall under the guise of being a reporter or being an you know, like an online truth teller or something like that. So, you know, when you're pulled in by the emotions, sometimes that like establishes credibility. Sometimes it helps foster group identity. Sometimes that controls the information flow. Does that sound familiar at all? That's propaganda. That's exactly what propaganda does. So, like, you know, I'm not trying to sit here and become this big conspiracy theorist, but
I'll do it.
this is conspiracy driven. I mean, it's like they had a propaganda campaign that was very, very effective. Not
Was
so much.
John O'Keefe secretly undercover with the CIA? Was he investigating Karen Reed, a well-known and documented Mossad agent?
That dog was, though. What's his name? Chloe. That dog was definitely involved in something.
The dog disappeared. I don't think the dog's dead. I think the dog is hanging out with JFK Jr. somewhere.
I believe that the dog was flying the plane when JFK went down in the Potomac or whatever it was.
Let's
And
keep
could you
doing
state
this.
your
until we
name
can
and
ban.
spell your last name for the jurors, please.
Kelly Dever, last name Devever.
That was the last time they were cordial.
And what do you do for a living, presently?
I'm a police officer,
Where are you employed?
Boston Police.
How long have you been so employed with the Boston Police Department?
2 years and a little over 2 months.
Okay, so I'm playing this up front because this is the little backstory behind this is that they had their détente. Is that what it's called, John?
No. Détente is the easing of tensions during the Cold War. You're thinking of tete-a-tete,
Yeah,
which is not to be confused with the Tet Offensive, which was a major offensive in the Cold War.
It was very offensive. So they had their tete-a-tete, and what happened after that is, and look, I implore any defense attorney or any critical thinker out there that if you come across information that contradicts something that you said in an FBI interview, then you go back and tell the FBI, look, man, I came across this information. I'm wrong. I was wrong. Like I wasn't trying to mislead you or I wasn't trying to do anything, but clearly I was wrong. And by saying she was wrong, she was trying to make it right, but they weaponized that. They put her on the stand and weaponized that. We'll get into it more in a second here, but stick around because you're going to see the harsh penalty that Alan Jackson imposed just because he got showed up. He got out divaed.
Did you ever prepare any kind
by Dever
of report based on any of your conduct or your connection with this case, if there was any connection with this case, while you were a Canton police officer?
No.
Were you ever interviewed by any member of the Canton Police Department in furtherance of their investigation related to the death of John O'Keefe?
No.
Were you ever interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police?
No.
Let me finish the question. I got to finish the question, then you can answer. It works a little better that way.
I'll tell you, John, this isn't even a humble brag. This is the truth. This is my experience. I taught courtroom testimony and demeanor for the better part of 10 years. That was a 24-hour course, not a 40-hour course. And that was for academy level people that have never testified before. And I'll tell you flat out, I taught it with an attorney for a long time. He's now a judge. So the information that we were giving was vetted. I've taught it with 3 different attorneys at different times and a fellow detective. So I can tell you the information that we gave in that presentation was dead on of how to win a case as a good witness. Just, get up there and tell the truth, but make sure that you don't change your affect between the two. The defense attorney is trying to get under your skin and they're probably going to call you by the wrong name to get you under the skin. I'm not saying that, that he called her Dever intentionally, but so the whole reason I'm telling you that is any of her little idiosyncrasies here, or any of her little, when she shows these immaturities, all of that could have been fixed. I'm telling you, if I were her lieutenant and I saw that testimony, I would pull her to the side and say, okay, I'm either going to get you into this class so you learn how to testify better or understand the process better, or I'll fix it. And I'm like, not even talking down to her, but sometimes they aren't educated in this part of it. They're taught how to write a report. They're taught very basic and 10,000 foot view stuff about courtroom testimony, but sometimes they're not really put into the weeds or challenged. And we would have a mock court every time, every time we taught the course, just to pull stuff like this out of people, because you're inherently going to get pissed off when you're on the stand, especially if you're up there trying to tell the truth.
Were you ever interviewed by any member of the Massachusetts State Police in furtherance of their investigation into the death of John O'Keefe?
No.
Were you ever interviewed by either the Canton Police Department or the Massachusetts State Police with regard to any of your observations on January 28th or January 29th, 2022?
No.
And you never wrote a report about your observations or any observations that you had on January 28th or January 29th, 2022, correct?
No.
So she's answering truthfully, but what he's inferring is that she has information or observations. If you'll remember what the previous question was, he's saying, you could have had information or an observation, but you never wrote a report about it, did you? And she's like, no, she's telling the truth. The jury is hearing something different. The jury's hearing that there was information and no one ever interviewed her, not from the Massachusetts State Police, not from the Canton Police Department. And it's so horrible.
But most of his legwork was done this way, with petty implications and places for the jury to write in what they thought, because he couldn't make more direct accusations a lot of the time.
It was breadcrumbs. And this is how he handles media interviews as well. Alan Jackson's a brilliant attorney. I'm not a fan, but he's a brilliant attorney. That's probably, why I'm not a fan. But he just gives you the breadcrumb. He gives you the bookends of what it could be, but he lets you fill in the blank. He never comes out and accuses you. That's why in the opening I said they don't even need.
It's kind of cowardly though, because without that indirect approach, you can't counter it without looking even more petty, or tacitly agreeing that that's what's really being discussed. In some ways, it's almost a little Inception-y. He kind of lays out this stuff that is there for the jury to read, but you can't directly attack that or counter or cross-examine that without lending some sort of credence to the issue. The mere fact that we're talking about it out loud must mean there's a kernel of truth, even though it's all implied.
Yeah. And here's the other thing when it comes to media interviews. On the whole, it's very difficult for a law enforcement agency or sometimes even the prosecuting body to get on any press conference and start talking about a case before it comes out. Now, before I get attacked, it's happened a million times. It happens all the time because it's usually the first to the microphone that controls the narrative. But this is the scary part of this. This isn't anything new, really, but it's new because there's like a lot of YouTube involved in this. But whoever controls the narrative is going to control the case. And when you get to the microphone first, that's what people remember. They're not going to hear the retraction. The retractions are going to come on, 10 months later on page.
Well, forget it. How often do you even get a retraction anymore?
Right. Exactly.
Did you ever write a report about your observations related to January 28th, 2022, January 29th, 2022?
No.
Okay, whether it infers or implies, the question is saying that she definitively has observations, but she failed to write a report. That's what the jury hears. What the witness on the stand is hearing, did you write a report? No. I mean, she's not really allowed to offer, no, there was no reason to write a report. Or
right. It just categorizes it as a lapse of duty rather than this wasn't important.
Yes.
Thank you.
And he says, thank you, because you walked right into his trap.
As a matter of fact, the first time you were ever interviewed in connection with anything having to do with this case or this investigation related to the death of John O'Keefe was by a separate law enforcement agency not the Massachusetts State Police, not the Canton Police Department, correct?
Yes.
So far she's saying, what the jury is being told is these incompetent investigators, the Massachusetts State Police who charged her, and the Canton Police, who we already know, they used what was it, a leaf blower. They must be crazy. They didn't even ask you any questions? No. And you didn't write a report? No. But all of that's normal. Like it's completely normal. If she didn't have anything to do with the case, she wouldn't have any information. She wouldn't have anything to write down. As a matter of fact, that's probably why they called her in to the dispatch area to take over for the sergeant who was going out to the scene. It's not abnormal that she didn't write a report. Now, she gave an interview later in life, but that's a different story.
That date?
No.
August 9th, 2023. Does that sound right? About right?
I know it was the summer of 2023. So
do you think it would refresh your recollection to take a look at a report of that interview?
yes, because I've never seen it before.
I would.
Okay, so that was a little smart-assy answer, but it's so true. Like, if he's saying, like, basically he can't use the words FBI, that might trigger a mistrial or something. But he's like, hey, you want to see your interview? You want to remember what you said, or you want to see what date it was? And she's basically saying, yeah, I've never seen the report before. And the reason why I find this to be important is she's a defense witness. So why would you keep the report from your own witness? Unless you couldn't, because there's material in there. At least her part of the report, what she's going to be testifying to, she should have been privy to. She should have had to at least refresh before going on the stand. That seems to me like tactical.
Direct your attention, Officer Dever, to January 28th, 2022. Where were you working? What was your duty assignment on that day, January 28th, moving into January 29th?
Well, 3.5 years later, I remember I was on patrol. I don't remember anything further about this night.
Did you work overnight, like a late shift going into the morning of January 29th?
That was my assigned shift, so yes.
Okay.
So they had a sidebar.
One of the cameras, one of the monitors that you had access to back on January 29th did show the footage from, or did it show the footage from that one of the other Sallyport garage cameras?
Can you rephrase the question?
Sure, it was a little bit clunky on my part. Did one of the monitors that you looked at, that you had access to at the dispatch area, did it show the video footage or the video feed from the Sallyport garage?
So I already said I don't remember where in dispatch the screen with the cameras was. There was a camera in the Sallyport. So if I'm going to make the assumption, then yes, of course. But now that's an assumption.
I'm not asking you for an assumption now. I'm asking you, did one of the feeds, now we've talked about the camera, the other side of the camera is the feed. Do you recall whether or not there was footage that you could see on a monitor in the dispatch area that showed the Sallyport?
Out of obligation, John, I have to tell you that I went to high school with Sally Port.
I'm going to go with yes.
Okay.
My clarification.
How long?
So I don't know what that means. So what do you mean you're going to go with yes? Is your answer yes?
Okay. She's fidgeting in her chair. She's rolling her eyes at the judge. This is not good. I don't know that she's necessarily angry at the judge, but she's certainly giving body language that's taking it out on the judge. And for the rest of the world that always says, oh, she was so biased and all this other stuff, well, here's yet another.
She doesn't want to be there, and she's having her credibility attacked, and she's basically being ambushed here. You got to remember, she's a witness for the defense, but she's not on their side. So she wasn't prepped before this. She's not being allowed to look at reports. If she doesn't know exactly beforehand what she's going in there, It's very hard to guess what her role would be necessarily, what she should brush up on. Not only that, she's a police officer with things to do. I mean, she has other stuff going on. Court is often an overtime affair, and it's just tough to go in there when her credibility is already at an issue and it's being attacked from a less than authentic, intellectually authentic standpoint.
I think that this was more of her, and I don't know her. Obviously I can't read her mind. I really truly believe that this was like, I know where you're going with this. You have got me wrapped up in this bullshit because she won't take responsibility. So now you got me up here on the stand, and it's not going to lead to anything good. So no,
I'm sure she's just irritated that she's there at all. I mean, this whole thing had nothing to do with her. She probably didn't know John O'Keefe, I'm sure. And this whole terrible thing happened. You know, of course, the biggest tragedy is the loss of John's life, but it obviously, because of Karen's selfishness and her inability to take responsibility for her actions, it reached out and touched and damaged the lives of a lot of people in her profession, for sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Stayed into the afternoon, correct?
I believe the shift ended at 3:40.
So for everyone who thinks that she's a liar, which is fine, that's your opinion, I'm just going to give you mine based on experience.
If you don't like his opinion, start your own channel. I get so sick of that. Just start your own.
Yeah. Start your own opinion. But she is fighting with herself because she knows she has to tell the truth, and she knows the truth doesn't look favorable. She knows this is a bunch of horse shit. But if she were truly lying on the stand, she would have no problem. She would just lie. She wouldn't have to struggle with anything. She's struggling with the fact that she has to give unflattering information, which again is a flaw of a young police officer. Just give the information. The prosecutor's either going to fix it or not. Just give the information, though.
5 p.m. for the Canton Police.
But you stayed past your ending shift time, correct?
Action.
I'm sorry, I'll rephrase it. Did you stay past your ending shift time?
For my regular shift, yes, because I was on overtime on the day shift.
Did you observe anything unusual that stood out in your mind that occurred, pardon me, in the Sally Port while you were on that shift?
So we've discussed this previously. I can't make that statement on the stand because I've been provided information released by the defense that it was not a memory, that it was a distorted memory. Therefore, I can't state it because at this point it would be a lie. I cannot make that statement that you're wanting me to make on the stand because I've advised that that would be a lie.
Okay. I want to ask any defense attorney that wants to jump in the comments, jump in the chat. I mean, of the 16 of you that are here, you probably...
Only Michael is a defense attorney, actually.
No, he's not even a defense attorney. But
he defends patents.
I went to high school with Pat End also. I'm going to ask you this very simple question because I know that everybody, like, they love to hate Kelly Dever because of the way she had this interaction. They think she's lying or whatever.
She comes across a little petulant.
She definitely comes across as immature and petulant. But what exactly, if you were her attorney, or if you were the attorney for, if you were working in the legal department of the city of Boston for Boston PD or whatever, what advice would you give her? Would you tell her to go in there and just play their game and actually say something that's untrue on the stand?
The thing is, well, you know, what are you going to do? You can only go in there and play their game because you've been subpoenaed by the defense. The best thing you could do is damage control, help the issues of your credibility and what you saw in the Sally Port and how you treated that and the fallout from all that. I would treat it as minimally as possible. I don't want to be remembered by the jury. Unfortunately, all this petulant behavior, it's sitting there for 20 seconds thinking yes or no answer to a question. She really, I know you're on her side, but she's making a mountain out of a molehill here. And the questions about her credibility, because of the way she handles herself on the stand, it makes credibility the foremost issue in this case. Do we trust the police? They had already done a good job with Proctor. They had already had their steak. Now we have our potatoes here. And now we've have a full meal of, can we trust the police on this?
Yeah.
So there's really no answer to your question, I guess, legitimately, Drew, other than to go in, play it cool, yes, no, be polite, be someone whose impact on the jury is minimal, even though you're doing damage to the state's case.
But this is damned if you do and damned if you don't. And
It's a paradox.
So somebody in the chat's just let me remind you of what actually happened. Her memory was that she was interviewed by the FBI. They couldn't discuss what agency it was. She was interviewed by the FBI. She told them that she saw Brian Higgins and Chief Berkowitz in the Sallyport with the truck with Karen Reed's SUV for, quote, a wildly long time. That's what she told the FBI. She said that it was on the day of her, that she was talking about, that he just kind of led her down a path of, and that they were standing in the Sallyport together right by the truck. So she is the key witness that puts them in there, because remember, their conspiracy is that Brian Higgins killed, John, and that they took little pieces of taillight and somehow magically peppered them in the snow. So she was, after her interview, logically, I guess, told somebody about what her interview was, and they were like, hey, Kelly, not for nothing, but you weren't even there. You left work. You weren't even there by the time the SUV got there. I mean, there's big conspiracies over 425 and it says 4 o'clock in the search warrant and all this other stuff. She was in bed by then. She wasn't even there. So when somebody reminded her of that, it triggered her to call the FBI and say, I made a mistake. I screwed up. I really thought that this is what happened. It turns out that's not what happened. And you can say anything you want about, oh, she's a police officer, she's supposed to remember all this stuff, in it. The human memory is the most malleable thing. That's why false identification cases are so, wrongful conviction cases are based in false identification. We changed the entire eyewitness identification procedure because memory is so malleable.
And as a 911 dispatcher, we get it all the time where someone they'll see someone fleeing the scene of an accident or the scene of a felony, like a robbery, and they'll give me a description of the person. And we do the best we can, but then police officers come back at dispatch for not getting good information. Well, that's what we were told. We were told this guy had a red jacket, and it turns out it's orange or blue. Yeah, it's completely bad. We do what we can in real time, but that eyewitness stuff, there's been studies and studies and studies that show it's not reliable. And that's even right after it happened. Now we're looking back through the lens of time, and she's got all this pressure on her, not only from the defense, who's trying to make something out of her memory and her memory lapses and memory mistakes, but she's also got the pressure of her career, and she's a young, brand new police officer. And I think any of us under that kind of pressure we can question ourselves. Did I see what I saw? I can understand that kind of stress.
Ms. Dever, I've never asked you to make a statement one way or the other on the stand. I'm asking you an open-ended question.
Okay,
Let me ask the question. Did you observe something in the Sallyport garage on January 29th, 2022 that you found unusual, that stuck out in your mind?
Given factual information that makes it so I know I did not, no.
So the answer is no.
Correct.
Do you remember being interviewed on August 9th, 2023?
I do.
That was by a separate law enforcement agency, correct?
Yes.
2 separate law enforcement agents, is that right?
Yes.
And you were advised during the course of that interview on August 29th of something, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
I'm sorry, August 9th.
So what was I advised of? Can you rephrase that?
Sure. Were you advised that lying to those officers would be a crime?
So it was a willing conversation. I've spoken with their legal team, Because of the fact I was provided factual information that showed a statement of mine was a false memory, it was not a lie. Therefore, I made it in good faith, and I retracted given information that it could not be accurate.
She was coached. She went to an attorney and sought counsel and said, "This is the dilemma I'm in. What do I need to say here?" And they may have like mistakenly said, it's kind of like a false memory and that stuck. And when she got on the stand and said false memory, Free Karen Reed threw up red flags like, oh my God, she's creating false memories. And that's not what happened. She's up there literally telling the truth. And Alan Jackson has a hissy fit after the trial because she was mean to him.
Did you understand my question?
Yes, I did. You threatened to charge me with perjury during our phone call prior to the first trial if I didn't lie on the stand right now. I'm telling you.
That makes her look bad because the defense attorney can't charge her with anything. It just, because he's going to seize this moment, right, to make her look incompetent. I can't charge you with anything, ma'am.
I know, but here's the thing. He is holding her to her verbatim words, but he's allowed to speak in general terms. This is the same issue we had with Hannah Payne.
Yeah.
You are holding them to their literal words when
such a strict construction of what somebody is doing their best to relate. Any kind of complicated incident, Hannah Payne's a great example of that, but also this recollection and recounting and correcting of a narrative about this Sally Port. You could sit down and probably write a book to put enough words in it to get it correct, right? But you're having a conversation, you're going back and forth. It's easy to be misconstrued, to be misunderstood, and to frankly to misspeak. I mean, both Drew and I can appreciate this as people who go live on a podcast, but sometimes we say things that are wrong and we have to go back and correct the issue. Yeah. But if we were held to account for every single thing that we said, that we have to correct for, should we be held as perjurers for that just because we misspoke? Or should we be given the chance to explain what we meant and explain why we misspoke or why there's confusion over the issue? Instead, she's not given the benefit of a doubt to explain herself. She's just made to look as a liar and as a fool and as a cretin.
No, and it gets worse too. Stick around because I'm going to show you exactly how he dismantled this girl's career. I don't care how sassy she was. She's in her 20s.
I like the sass.
I mean, again, that could have been fixed, but he had to flex his attorney muscles.
I did not see anything. Factually, I've been provided evidence by a timeline that it is not correct.
Ms. Dever, my question was this. Were you advised that it was a crime to lie to those law enforcement agents?
This is the same thing he did with Jennifer McCabe. He said, were you told that it was a crime if you lied to those FBI agents? And she's like, yeah. And he's saying, and you lied to them about the phone call that you made when you shut the door, right? And she's like, yeah. So now the jury's like, she's a criminal. She committed a crime.
You can't walk back from that. Yeah.
You can't, but you can't be, it's almost like discouraging honesty. But that's why I'm telling you, just get up there and tell the truth. And if you can fit in the rest of the explanation, you probably won't. But if you can fit in the rest of the explanation, just get up there and tell the truth.
Yeah, it's not fair dialogue that you're having on the stand. I don't know if people get that impression from TV shows or whatever, but it's a very strictly constructed dialogue that you're having with that attorney in order to help construct their narrative and nothing else.
Right.
No.
They never told you, they never admonished you that it would be a crime to lie to them?
Objection.
Sustained. As to form, Mr. Jackson.
Sure. Did they advise you of anything? Any consequences of lying to them?
So we had a willing conversation.
So what she keeps going back to is look, I was a witness. They came and talked to me and you're trying to make this out to me. But did they put me under oath? Did they make me swear that I'm not lying and all that? Did they threaten to arrest me? And all of that is disparaging to her. It makes her look bad to the jury. And I see why she's upset about it. No, that's not what happened. I'm a cop. They're cops. They came and asked me questions and I gave them a truthful answer, what I thought was the truth at the time. And I was boldly mistaken. I was sadly mistaken. And I corrected the record. but he's never going to give her the opportunity to say that.
But the attitude plays into that. If she turned and looked at the jury and said, listen, I made a mistake, I misspoke, or I did the wrong thing, but I'm here today at great risk to my personal future and my career to tell you exactly what happened. And I know that I don't look good in this moment. If she could appeal to their humanity, if she could throw themselves on the mercy of the jury to understand her, that's where the petulance kind of, you're never going to beat Alan Jackson at his own game.
No, you're not.
She should have been talking more to the jury than interacting with him.
We'll see in a minute what the juvenile tactics he pulled.
I don't recall.
So, okay, there's your answer.
You don't recall if they advised you of anything?
No, because it wasn't.
As a trained law enforcement agent.
Go ahead and ask a question, but both of you only one at a time, okay?
As a trained law enforcement officer, are you aware that it's a crime to lie to certain other law enforcement agents?
When you have intent to lie, yes.
Okay. So you knew that when you spoke to these law enforcement officers, correct?
Yes.
Did you tell these law enforcement officers that you, in fact, saw Brian Higgins and Chief Berkowitz go into the Sally Port with the
Objection.
SUV? May I finish my question?
He can finish this question. Go ahead.
Did
Yeah, she Auntie Bev, as those freaks call her, she was so biased. She's going to let him finish this question that is just going to get out there. That didn't you say that you saw the SUV and Chief Berkowitz and Brian Higgins in the Sally Port with the SUV? Like, yeah, she was really biased.
you tell those law enforcement agents on August 9th, 2023, that you saw Brian Higgins and Chief Berkowitz go into the Sally Port together and alone with the SUV for a wildly long time?
That was my recollection at the time.
So you did say that?
At the time, that is what I recollected.
Okay.
That's the answer.
You and I spoke, along with Mr. Unetti and Ms. Little, on a conference call last year sometime. You remember that?
Yes.
Between the time that you were interviewed on August 9th, 2023, and when we spoke sometime in maybe it was April or so of last year, does that sound about right?
Yes.
Did you have any conversation with any other party about your potential involvement in this case?
No.
Did you have a conversation with anybody in the commissioner's office at Boston Police Department?
Not about anything malicious.
I didn't use the word malicious. Why do you say malicious?
I had a conversation, but it was my department saying, regardless of what I need to say on the stand, they support me.
You were asked to go to the commissioner's office, correct?
Yes.
How long had you been on the Boston Police Department at the time that you were invited to go up to the Commissioner Michael Cox's office?
Okay, I'm stopping it right here. At what point did she say the meeting was specific to this case? Now, there is a little back and forth that would indicate that they actually did discuss the case. However, I'm going to tell you right now, flat out, the sheriff where I worked, the chief of police in the same city where I worked, the state attorney where I worked, they all had the new people come in. Every single one of them. Now, sometimes it wasn't individual. Sometimes it was just in a group setting. Anytime, when I was running the communication center, I met with everybody individually because I wanted to lay out the expectations. And I wanted to let them know, hey, I'm a human being just like you, and I'm here for you. And by the way, don't embarrass me. If you ever have to, if you're ever writing a report, you get on the stand, whatever, just do the right thing. That's all we ask. Okay? So I can see this conversation happening between these two, between the commissioner and Kelly Dever, where he's saying, young lady.
Yeah, but anybody in the true crime community is going to be like, look, they colluded to shape the narrative.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, all you have to do is float the theory. You don't have to back it up with any other evidence.
You don't have to have any facts. You could just insinuate. I mean, that's longstanding tradition in this country. You could just accuse someone of being a witch. There doesn't have to be any proof.
Yeah, that's true. And you can construe the words "do the right thing" to mean anything you want it to mean.
Yeah, it all depends. Does it come with a wink? Do the right thing. You know, that's an appeal to morality and conscience. But if you like do the right thing and, you know, you do the wink right there, it's the right thing for your career or the right thing for the department.
But it's also, John, look at me, do the right thing. Just
I know how it is.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is exactly how law enforcement.
But it doesn't matter because he can imply that any conversation is as scurrilous as he wants it to be. The accusation's enough. No proof needed.
It had to have been before the first trial. So, and I know it was when the agency released information to outside people.
That's not my question.
Okay, so I don't recall.
Okay. You don't recall how long you had been on the force.
All right, that's also important because she said the agency released information, so she knows why she was called there.
Generally.
That probably is more solid that this was about that meeting was about this case.
At the time that you were called up to the commissioner's office on the Boston Police Department.
No.
Was it 5 years, 2 years, 2 months? Give me a ballpark.
So I've been on the department for 2 years and 2 months. I would say somewhere in the range of a year.
Okay. Did you find it unusual would you call yourself a rookie back then?
Yes.
Did you find it unusual that a rookie police officer would be called up to the commissioner's office personally to discuss a matter?
It was a reflection of how good of a leader he is. It was not anything that I found unusual, given the fact he is someone who wanted to show support for his officer.
Boom. Like, you can make this nefarious all you want. You can spin it any way you want because you're not held to the truth. She's the one on the stand, and she's saying, no, this was a leadership issue. This was it's like going to your dad. And it happens. I'm telling you, it happens in law enforcement. And it doesn't mean that we're colluding or trying to fix a case or, for God's sakes.
Drew, is there a point where she should just be like, well, to hell with this, and it's all gone horribly bad, where she should just attack him back? Is this considered not allowed? Where you're like, you're lying, you're shaping the narrative to be something it's not, and I'm not going to go along with your line of questioning that implies something that's not true. Would you be able to just call him out right in front of the jury like that? Or would your response be struck as non-responsive to the question or contempt? What are we talking?
And then when you're declared a hostile witness, he gets to ask leading
extra leverage.
Yeah. So, this might even be a play to get that. Like, he sees it happening, but also
it's so frustrating that you're going to play their game or you're going to play an even harder game. You cannot win against these guys on the stand.
It's also going to be just like, you say every time, the judge is going to say this to be stricken from the record, jury. You're not to remember that. I mean,
which is a joke.
But this could go as far as a mistrial when you say something like that. Like, you have to stay within the.
Well, I don't know. Me? So I'd say fuck it. We're doing a mistrial, everybody.
May 9th, 2022.
No.
A statement one way or the other on the stand. I'm asking you an open-ended.
Accurate.
Ms. Dever, did you understand my question?
Yes, I did. You threat.
Lie to certain other law enforcement agents.
When you have intent to lie, yes.
Okay. So, police department.
Not about anything.
Boston Police Department.
If that seems familiar, it's because I screwed up and I can't find our place.
No.
Was it 5 years, 2 years, 2 months? Give me a ballpark.
So I've been on the department for 2 years and 2 months. I would say somewhere in the range of a year.
Okay. Did you find it unusual would you call yourself a rookie back then?
Yes.
Did you find it unusual that a rookie police officer would be called up to the commissioner's office personally This doesn't matter.
It was a reflection of how good of a leader he is. It was not anything that I found unusual, given the fact he is someone who wanted to show support for his officer.
So
the jury's sitting there going, "Oh, that's a good point. She's a rookie. What's she doing up there?"
She's
And
still a rookie.
Yeah, I know. It's baseless. Like, he called her up there. First of all, the chief or commissioner or sheriff has the prerogative to call anybody up to their office or down to their office or whatever
At any time.
for
It's
any
their employee.
and yeah, and you can just go to hell about it. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to know that conversation. If it's sunshine law, like here in Florida, if it's, subject to public record, you can make an argument.
I'm guessing all of your training class or all of your entry classes at Boston PD, they've all gone up to the commissioner's office as well?
I don't know anyone else who's been in this particular circumstance.
Do you know anybody else who's been called up to the commissioner's office at your level at the Boston Police Department?
Objection.
Now, when you went up to the commissioner's office, did you respond to his indication that he wanted to see you up in his office?
It wasn't a direct line of contact from him.
Okay. Did you respond? Did you ultimately go? That's what I mean by respond. Did you go to his office?
He's my boss, so yes.
Okay. And who else was in that office?
Me and him. The two of us.
General counsel for the Boston Police Department?
No, it's just me and him.
During the conversation that we had last year, did you say that general legal counsel for the Boston Police Department was also there?
Objection.
Not during that conversation.
Objection.
Sure. Was there another time that you went to the commissioner's office where general legal counsel was there?
No.
Have you ever met general legal counsel for the Boston Police Department?
Yes.
Was it in the commissioner's office?
No.
When was it?
During my conversation with the agents.
You took a lawyer with you to talk to this other law enforcement agency?
I'm going to see you at sidebar on this.
Ms. Dever, when we left off, I was asking you about the meeting at the commissioner's office. And I want to clear this up. Was general legal counsel in that office or not when you had the meeting with the commissioner, Michael Cox?
No, it was just me and the commissioner.
At some point, did the commissioner say to you that Boston Police Department, insofar as your connection to this case is concerned, Boston Police Department fully supports you?
Yes.
This is what's called ringing the bell, Drew. And really it's highly, highly unethical. And I don't know if there's any statutory response to this, but when an attorney asks a question and, an objection may cause the question not to be answered, or the witness is smart enough not to answer, but it makes an implication, an insinuation, or impacts the jury. The question is solely meant to inflame their opinion about what's going on. It's called ringing the bell because it can't be unrung. It doesn't matter if there's an objection. It doesn't matter if it's stricken from the record. That implication is left in the jury's mind, and it's an extremely cowardly, an extremely unethical way to examine a witness.
Yep. Can't be unrung.
Also say, do the right thing.
That's a direct quote, so...
Like, she's taken aback by it. Like, where are you coming from, dude? Like, what are you even talking about? And like, I'm sure if she wanted to open the floodgates, she'd be like, he told me a lot of things. He told me to be honest. He told me to be, but she's not. She's just kind of saying, like, no, that, like, if you want me to attribute this direct quote to him, I can. It was 2.5 years ago. I don't remember what he said specifically, but he told me to tell the truth.
No, I can't recollect if he said a direct quote 2 years ago.
A year ago, when you talked to us, the defense, did you tell the defense that when you were called up to the commissioner's office, he told you two things? Commissioner Cox told you, number one, the Boston Police Department supports you, and Officer Dever, do the right thing.
So he said my name correctly. He said Dever, and
that's my mistake. Let's see. Like, you want me to repeat the question so I get
So
he said my name correctly.
was the moment Alan Jackson decided to ruin her career because
Yep.
Mr. Jackson, let's go ahead and answer, please.
it was a bullshit answer. Just
No, but I mean, if she's taking blow after blow after blow, if she could get in one under the belt.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, and he said nothing with the intent of guiding me one way or the
What
other.
his intent was, madam.
Then
I asked you.
By the way, just for those of you who are far outside of policing and corrections work, this is something that very often comes up that I think she's going to the well on. Whenever someone threatens to do an official complaint about you, or they want your badge number, or they're going full Karen on you, or they're writing a grievance in a correction environment, a typical correctional officer, and I imagine a police officer, much like Drew, will make sure it's like, hey, I'm badge 714 and the name's Breezy, Breasy, don't misspell it. Like
Right.
we get kind of punchy about that. Like if you're going to write it up, just make sure you do it right. So when he's on the stand calling her by the wrong name, I'm sure that was just already somewhere inside her that she had to correct the spelling and pronunciation of her name in that exact situation before.
I agree.
What he said to you. What were his words to you?
That he supports me.
And
What if she just responded, he told me Alan Jackson's mother's ass, just went nuts on him.
Just wanted me to tell the truth up here.
and his words were do the right thing, correct?
I don't recall.
He's just looping that over and over and over again. And he's like, so he's saying, I didn't say nefarious. Why would you say nefarious? And then he turns around and keeps saying nefariously, but he told you to do the right thing. Like, this is what I'm saying. She's held to the verbatim. He's allowed to generalize. And it's an unfair tactic. I mean, it's good. It's effective, obviously. But I think
He's doing what he's being paid to do.
yeah, I think it's bullshit. I find this guy to be a bully, to be honest.
Your name came up during the
Okay, so we're going to ease right into the whole controversy about Commissioner Michael Cox. This was an interview just off the cuff that he had that sent all of these like defense attorneys like down the, oh my God, it's a conspiracy.
recent Karen Reed trial. You got a visit from Officer Kelly Dever. The defense implied that you influenced her testimony. Do you want to respond to that?
I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. Matter of fact, I didn't even know this person was associated with the Karen Reed case. I have an organization full of over 3,000 people, and we support all our folks. And the reality is that, I get information passed on, whether people are high or low, and I encourage everyone, right?
He could be saying, I didn't know at the time I called for the meeting that she was involved in the Karen Reed case. Because there is a subsequent email from an FBI agent that specifically addresses that. Says, the officer that was involved in this that we interviewed her name was Kelly Dever. So there are some issues. Now, here's the other thing that I want to just float out there. This is kind of my read on it. I came up with this tonight, actually. There is a disconnect where he's kind of like, there's a reason he's distancing himself because they kind of want to draw him into this. The main reason is because he's the Boston police commissioner and he wants to solve the murder rate and the gun problem and all this other stuff. But he's got to deal with these stupid accusations because somebody can't take responsibility for killing their boyfriend or whatever happened, if that's what happened. I guess a jury acquitted her, supposedly. So, I think he knows very well maybe what happened, but there is stuff that you cannot discuss in the media, especially between a commissioner and the FBI. Most local law enforcement agencies, the department heads, have some level of clearance with the FBI. And if they're told specifically, don't talk about this case or don't talk about anything, he's not going to talk about it. But there's also this part too where he's kind of like holding on to, I don't have to tell you shit. Like, look, this, you guys are so crazy with this information. It's a feeding frenzy, and it's a nothing burger. And I've got bigger fish to fry, to be honest. So I don't want to deal with this. Like, just.
But the jury is never going to see this. This is not part of the official record, and as maybe as helpful it is to understand the truth of the context of that meeting, they never saw it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to work here and you belong here, then we're going to encourage you. I have no idea what they're talking about with Karen Reed. It had nothing to do with Karen Reed. No discussion about
Did you tell Officer Dever to do the right thing?
I didn't know she was even associated with that case. So, I don't know. I was.
He didn't deny he didn't deny they met, and he didn't deny that he told her to do the right thing, but he didn't clarify what he meant by do the right thing if he said that. But that's his prerogative. That's his business. That's between those two. When you create this fervor, this like rabbit hole of conspiracy, and people demand answers, demand that you follow their theory. This is the fourth estate or whatever it is. Like they're supposed to ask questions. I get it. He's answering it. He's just not answering it to their satisfaction. And that's sending everybody else into a tizzy. Oh, there must be a conspiracy. Well, what if there's not? What if the guy's just completely honest and does not give a shit? Like, you can't imply that he doesn't give a shit about John O'Keefe. That's not what he's saying. He's being asked about Karen Reed. And he's being asked about Kelly Dever. And he'll address that in a second.
So I was struck, like, what do I have to do with the Karen Reed race? I never have said those words together. And so the fact is, it's much to do about nothing. We have employees here that we have to develop and encourage and do things, and I do that for tons of our employees.
Do you feel that you were inappropriately drawn into this as some sort of boogeyman?
That case is over, and we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. I was in the state of Michigan.
Okay, so this sent LawTube into a tizzy because he said, I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. I was in the state of Michigan, and they're like, he was murdered on a Boston police officer's lawn, and he was a Boston police officer. That's not what he's talking about. That's not what he's being asked about, one. And two, he's saying he was in Michigan. So one of my favorite LawTubers was like, so what, was he on a vacation? Well, no. John O'Keefe died, unfortunately, and very tragically, on January 29th, 2022. And then Michael Cox, the commissioner, took office, what's that say, John? July of 2022. It was some 7 months later, this guy became the commissioner of the Boston Police Department.
No, but all you have to do is imply that he was doing something wrong. He was on vacation. He was somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be, and all of a sudden,
right,
that implication is truthy enough to be fact.
Yeah, he's saying I was in Michigan, meaning I was the Grand Rapids police chief when all of this was happening. It had nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me now. He's not saying the other part about, I understand that it's, an officer, John O'Keefe. He does address that later because they keep pushing him on this thing. They keep trying to draw the conspiracy out of him. If not, they'll just create it. Because they don't have to tell the truth.
No, but the bogus revelation also sells clicks and it convinces jurors. The truth has very, very low value as a commodity anymore, and it's sad because it's never been more needed.
Keep playing.
Okay, so here's the hero of the trial. This is where FKR lauded police. Finally, an honest police officer. I have nothing against this guy. I feel bad for him. He made some huge mistakes also, and we're going to cover them here, and there's a reason why I want to cover them.
Memory.
Correct.
When you wrote your report, and you could have put as much detail as you wanted, is it fair to say you only wrote one single line about the damage to the car?
Correct.
The vehicle had damage to the right rear taillight.
That's what I wrote.
Fair to say you didn't document that it was the size of a dollar bill. You didn't say that, did you?
No.
Or that it was 3 to 6 inches. You didn't mention that, did you?
No.
You didn't mention the placement of where the damage was.
To an extent, I did the right rear tail light.
Right rear tail light. You didn't indicate if it was on the side or on the back.
I did not.
All right, mind you, this is also a law enforcement officer. His name is Sergeant Nicholas Barros. He's from the Dighton Police Department, and he is a defense witness. And he was, in the first trial, he was a prosecution witness, I believe. In this trial, he's a defense witness because he was sent to Karen Reed's parents' house in Dighton to secure the vehicle while Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan respond there to interview Karen Reed and take
Played a very small part in this. It's just chain of custody is the only thing that he's doing.
Yeah, and he claims that he was staring at the taillight. He made conversation with Mr. Reed and blah blah blah.
You didn't provide any other details of your description when your memory was probably at its best. True?
True.
And would you agree that your memory that day was probably much more accurate than it is today?
I would not.
When you wrote the report, did you ever have an opportunity to write a supplement report if you wanted to give more detail?
I guess I could.
You didn't.
I did.
Inevitably, you were a witness at trial. I'm sorry, you were a witness at a prior proceeding in this case, weren't you?
Correct.
You came in and you swore under oath regarding your memory.
Correct.
And that was probably a year to a year and a half after you first made the observations which you reduced in writing in the police report.
Correct.
And when you made those observations, that was on January 29, 2022?
Correct.
When you came into court and you testified, that was on June 10, 2024.
If that was the date.
You were asked questions to use your best memory to describe the damage to that taillight last time you swore under oath to tell the truth, weren't you?
I don't think I was asked that.
What were you asked about to describe the best you could the damage to that right rear taillight last time you were in court on June 10, 2024?
I don't think I was told to describe it in depth.
Were you asked questions about the damage to that rear taillight last time you were in court?
I was.
And when you described the damage, did you do your best of your ability to give as much detail as possible?
I did.
Did you qualify your memory at that time, saying to the best of my ability and recollection?
I did.
And when you qualify as a police officer with the best ability and recollection, that is recognizing that time had passed,
Time has passed, yep.
that you had a report, that you could refresh your memory.
Correct.
And did you refresh your memory with that report before you testified last time?
I did.
And when you qualified that it was to the best of your ability and recollection, that account for the fact that when you looked at the report, there was no detail other than your commentary in your report that the vehicle had damage to the right rear taillight.
Correct.
Had you ever seen that photo before?
Of course.
And you saw it at the last event you testified at, right?
Correct.
And when you were shown that photo during your prior testimony, you never, ever suggested that that was in any way different than what you had seen in Dighton.
Nobody asked me that.
When you were asked to describe the damage, and you were shown that photograph, you never, ever suggested that there was a difference in the damage as you see it in that photo compared to what you remember, did you?
I don't think anybody asked me to describe that.
Did you ever make a note or say anything that is dissimilar to what you remember at the last event that you testified at?
I testified that that was not the taillight the day that I saw it.
That's what you testified at the last event?
Did.
Yes?
Yes.
You said that photo does not depict what you saw?
Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
And when you testified to that at the last event, who was asking you that question?
District Attorney Lally.
Okay. And you remember making that comment under oath?
I do.
Do you remember that as well as your memory about what the taillight looked like back in Dighton?
I do.
When you were asked questions about that taillight, you had described the taillight as not completely damaged, it was cracked, and there was a piece missing but not completely damaged. Do you remember that testimony?
I do.
And is that accurate testimony?
It's accurate.
You said that your memory about the damage to the taillight, as you recall it when you were in Dighton back on January 29, 2022, you said your memory is as good as your memory that you said in court there was a difference between that photo and the damage, right?
Right.
Have you ever read your testimony from your last proceeding?
Never.
But you have a specific memory of discussing that specific photograph? Yes?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm going to show you your transcript of sworn testimony on June 10, 2024. And when you reflect on your memory, understanding some time has passed, you've testified that your memory of distinguishing that photo is reflected in your testimony, right?
So ask the question differently.
Okay. Your memory is that you discussed the distinction between that photo and what you saw at the last time you testified.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
And I should take a look at it. Could you show me anywhere in your testimony, anywhere, where you made any statement about that photo being inconsistent with what you saw in Dighton on January 29th, 2022?
But I sped this up 500%. So it went by like a minute and a half, maybe. And he's reviewing this report because he's saying, yes, I said it. I testified to it under oath. I remember it.
It's not in there. It's not in there.
It's not in.
It's not in there.
Okay.
Yes.
I can put it back on. Thank you.
So he literally just testified to something that was untrue. It dug in his heels, stood his ground, died with his boots on, literally lied just now. If we're going by Alan Jackson's standard of lie.
So respectfully, sir, your memory about distinguishing that photo is not as you thought it was and claimed it was in this transcript, correct?
Correct.
And that's not a matter of you trying to fool anybody or lying, is it?
No.
No, it's a matter of time passes and memory fades. Yes?
Yes.
And that's one real example why at the academy they teach you when you write reports to be as detailed as you can. To accommodate the fact that memories can fade. Right?
Correct.
Memories can change.
I know what I saw, and that wasn't it.
Well, that's not what I'm asking you, because you just testified that under oath you had looked at that photo and distinguished it. But that's not accurate, is it?
No.
And so it's not a matter of you perjuring yourself or lying, it's a matter of difficulties with memory, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Correct.
And you've shared those same difficulties with memory as many other witnesses. Objection.
Sustained.
You have, as is human nature, difficulties with memory at times, correct?
Correct.
And so that very certain memory you had about your testimony last year, fair to say that never happened.
Correct.
You were simply mistaken, weren't you? Or something more, please tell me.
Correct.
He just said on the stand it was a false memory. So here's the Diva's letter. Alan what's his name, Jackson, couldn't get enough, and he had to ruin Dever's career. So he wrote this horribly long letter stating that she deserves to be on what's known as the Brady list.
Brady list.
It's very, it's very commonly known in the courts. And here's something that I'm going to introduce to you that we use in interviews and interrogations at times. It's called a it's called a forced alternative. It's hard to say but it's forced alternative. So what he asserts in this letter, what Alan Jackson is saying is, you got to put this girl on the Brady list because either she intentionally lied or she has a memory problem that is so bad that it would preclude her from telling the truth and testifying ever again. Either she intentionally lied or she has some kind of memory condition. So we expect you to answer us when you put her on that Brady list. Now, this is why I call this weaponization, because there should be due process for this.
Yeah, it's just being summarily decided that she's going on the list.
Right.
No one's going to review this. No one's going to review what was stated, what the reports were, what she had to say in follow-up.
Even if she's
done, it's McCarthyism all over again, Drew.
Yes, even if she beats it, because all of this has
the shadow of the doubt hangs over her, right?
It's already out there. It's already at Channel 25 Boston. We'll see in a second why I'm saying that. It's already out there. Everybody already thinks she's a liar, and these are the only two alternatives. Well, what about the third alternative? What if she was telling the truth? That's a third alternative that never made it into that letter. So what eventually happened with Kelly Dever is that either she was put on the Brady list or told she was about to be put on the Brady list. Every defense attorney in LawTube that I saw and I respect said the same thing. Well, I don't know what I would do here. I mean, it's pretty clear. I would have to disclose to the defense that she's an untruthful witness, and just taking Alan Jackson's word for it. I mean, like, okay, yeah, Alan Jackson said it happened. It must have happened. And it was all based on a conspiracy, but that's not important. And we don't have to substantiate anything because we're guardians of the truth and we're guardians of the court, and we want to make sure everybody gets fair and due process and fair treatment, except in this case, because we don't, this feeds the conspiracy a little bit better. It fits in the narrative a little more. This is bullshit. She was unfairly treated in this situation. And I say she was unfairly treated because she did the same thing that Nick Barros just did. And it was human nature. And the problem with it,
the difference was that Barros was his willing pawn, and Dever was pushing back against him.
Right. And he became the hero of this case. So this is what I want to say about all this, John, and we'll move on. Kind of. Sergeant Nick Barros, his testimony during the Karen retrial involved a concession under oath. This is like, it was under cross-examination, but his memory regarding the condition of the vehicle's taillight, which was a very, very important fact, in his prior testimony about it, it changed. And it was affected by additional information, by the media, by social media. He admitted that on the stand. So it constituted a reactive adjustment to impeachment and on the precision and consistency of his recollection. So in contrast, when Dever testified, that involved a whole recantation of an earlier unsworn statement to a federal agent, right? And he was trying to pin her against the wall saying, look, you either lied to them or you committed a crime, or you're lying now. Again, it's a forced alternative. She proactively corrected this. She said that it was a distorted memory or a false memory. She said that she was presented the factual timeline. She, in good faith, tried to do the right thing. She went to the attorney. She went to the FBI. They all said, hey, it happened. It's going to happen. Just like it happened with Nick Barros on the stand. I don't think Nick Barros should be on the Brady list unless you want to do this fairly. Okay, if you want to compare apples to apples, they did the exact same thing. So put Nick Barros on there. Let's do a scathing letter putting Nicholas Barros on the Brady list. Should we ruin his career and kill off his any chance for his life to be a police officer simply because he made this mistake that, you could label it a mistake, or you could say, no, he did that intentionally, or he has memory problems and he shouldn't be testifying. All right. And by the way, he admitted that he has problems with his memory. So take that for what it's worth. So I'm just saying her actions, including her proactive correction to the FBI, it was all based on like objectively factual. It was an impossibility. So her explanation of media influence, like she was taking in the case and she's like, oh my God, I remember seeing them on the thing. She tells the FBI. The FBI is like, oh, wow, that's pretty significant. And by the way, I'm tired of hearing all of these Karen Reed apologists like, oh, you can indict a ham sandwich. You like, they indicted her twice. You can indict a ham sandwich. Okay. Well,
sort of does downplay the role of a jury and looking at evidence brought forward by a prosecutor. I mean, it's a fun throwaway sentence, but indictments do have some meaning there.
They do. It's somewhat true because attorneys are saying it over and over again. You can indict a ham sandwich. So how come they haven't indicted Jennifer McCabe? How come they haven't indicted Brian Albert, Jen McCabe?
All these people that conspired against her to set her up for, life in prison or something akin to that?
Yeah, it's just, you can indict a ham sandwich. This is federal, by the way, a federal grand jury. Somebody's already been charged with leaking information in this case, in the grand jury case. So we know it's either ongoing or it's already done because the FBI sent that letter saying, hey, it's done. You guys can prosecute her. Do what you're going to do. Meaning the defense, flapped up enough dust to get the FBI to look at it. The FBI looked at it. They brought it to a grand jury. Nothing came of it, which gets back to what I've been trying to say from minute one. You don't have to have any proof. All you have to do is say it. If you're a cop, you have to have the ethics. You have to put it in a report.
And you're going to be threatened with perjury.
And you're threatened with perjury, and they're going to end your career, even if you try to fix the error.
Ethically speaking, just from an ethics standpoint, like procedurally, it's not so, but Alan Jackson did a lot of testifying.
Yeah, he did. Right. So I'm just saying it kind of disregards the possibility of genuine non-malicious memory contamination or some kind of error that was subsequently corrected. When Barros made the concession, he said that it was also a memory discrepancy. It became, it's just situated. It's just human nature. But with her, it's a full letter with the full weight of Alan Jackson and the full weight of media. And then the media doing this. This guy's on a cruise. I love this guy, by the way. Not
you love a shirt. It looks like your style.
Yeah. Listen to what he says here.
Correct.
He was simply mistaken.
Why is it doing that, dude?
I have no idea.
Okay, here we go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of The Lawyer You Know, and we're cruising officially, but I had to talk about this. Ted Daniels reached out to me, said they had some breaking news on Kelly Dever. You guys know she's been a big topic of conversation on this channel, and we have to talk about it. Will she be added to a Brady list? What does it mean? Why? What did Jackson say about it? And what did Commissioner Cox, who met with Kelly Dever about this case, or did he have to say in an interview? And at the end, I will tell you.
Well over 500,000 subscribers, maybe even close to 600,000.
Maybe you need to get his hair cut. Maybe it's something as small as that.
He has wonderful hair. Leave his hair alone. His hair would beat your ass.
I knew that would bother you.
This is her bossy boss, the top brass.
Okay. This is another, this is Emily D. Baker. She's a seasoned attorney, 20 plus years in the business, apparently. Again, I'm a fan. I'm a subscriber. I disagree on a lot of things she says. And it's not because I'm dumb. It's because I have different experience. And, you know, I'm not doing this from an adversarial standpoint. I'm going to point out some things she's saying here, though, that to me just are not fair.
Boston PD.
Your name came up during the recent Karen Reed trial. You got a visit from Officer Kelly Dever. The defense implied that you influenced her testimony.
Immediate statement. I have nothing to do with that.
Right. It's true. I have nothing to do with that. Like, you're asking me a question about a Karen Reed case. I had nothing to do with that. You can twist these words all you want.
Do you want to respond to that?
I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. Matter of fact, I didn't even know this person was associated with a Karen Reed case. You know, I have an organization, Philip. You know,
I didn't even know this person was associated with the Karen Reed case. Not only was the victim Boston PD, the crime scene was the front lawn of a Boston PD officer.
Yeah, but what she doesn't know is that this administrator of Boston PD is clearly one of these guys that just goes from PDs to PDs to PDs. You know, he's kind of the career chief.
But she's
it's kind of like asking like that lady down in New Orleans if she has any idea what's going on in terms of crime.
She's like,
she has no clue.
I didn't even know we had those metal things.
I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. You don't? You didn't investigate it, but your department is enmeshed in it.
Says who, though? Says who? Because, listen, I get that Brian Albert's a Boston PD officer, and I get the John.
That's a broad sweeping statement. It's enmeshed in it,
right? But this is what I'm saying. Like, says who? What do you mean enmeshed, or like? Yes, what you're saying is factual. It does not mean that they're embroiled in the controversy of the case. The controversy of the case.
Employers. I mean, that's Boston PD's role, that they're the employers of principal parties. That's it.
The controversy of the case was manufactured by the defense and the defendant, who didn't want to take responsibility for killing that Boston police officer. So it was, you know, she was tried in a court of law and she was found not guilty. I understand that. She was also accused of doing it. And by the way, if you ever read the indictment, you can go to the commcenter.com/Karen Reed, and you can read the, no pun intended, you can read the indictment of all the actual facts that they have in this case. I'm not talking down to Emily D. Baker. I'm talking down to anybody who wants to challenge our facts.
And your department should want justice for John O'Keefe.
3,000 people, and we support all our folks. And the reality is that, you know, I get information passed on, whether people are high or low, and I encourage everyone, right? And if you're going to work here and you belong here, then we're going to encourage you. I have no idea what they're talking about with Karen Reed. It had nothing to do with Karen Reed. No discussion about
Did you tell Officer Dever to do the right thing?
I didn't know she was even associated with that case. So
I didn't really like the response,
know.
To be honest. You should have said, like, I tell all my officers to do the right thing, because they should do the right thing. It's a little too defensive for me.
Yeah, Emily says the same thing basically, and I agree with that.
Oh, she was even
well, she's kind of like on the drama part. Like, I didn't even know she was associated
with that case. Then why was she in your office?
Okay, this is where I have the problem here. Why was she in your office? To empty my trash. It's none of your business. Like, she was in my office because she was giving a PowerPoint. She was in my office because I called her in there. She was getting,
because I'm her boss and I could talk to any of my employees that I want to at any time for no reason.
And it's got, and just because you're enmeshed in a conspiracy theory does not mean that he owes you an explanation to debunk it. He doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't owe anybody anything. He owes the mayor, obviously, and the citizens, right? And that's what the media is for. Okay. But if you're provided with an answer and you're not satisfied with the answer, you're going to have to go do a little bit more digging to come up with more information to present to him. Just because you don't like the answer doesn't mean that it's untruthful.
Because then there's no reason to talk to her.
Don't say there's no reason to talk to her. I'm telling you, Every division chief in the state attorney's office, most state attorneys, every district attorney, they bring their new attorneys in and they talk to them all the time. Cops do the same thing. Chiefs of police do the same thing. Sheriffs do the same thing. Sometimes it's in front of the academy class. Sometimes it's a one-on-one. Sometimes it's just a round table of 6 or 7 cops. It happens all the time. And it is a good practice to do. By the way, there's something that I'm starting very soon, John, 2026, look out. It's called the Clarity Bureau. It's a leadership consultant. It's leadership. I don't want to use the word coaching. That's kind of what it is. But look out for that because we're going to have our little round tables of our own.
What will my role be?
You're just going to look, you're on easy street here, dude. You're just going to take in all the cash. Your job is going to be to count all the money.
No, I was struck. Like, what do I have to do with a Karen Reed race? I never have said those words together. And so the fact is, it's much to do about nothing. We have employees here that we have to develop and encourage and do things, and I do that for tons of our employees.
Do you feel that you were inappropriately drawn into this as some sort of boogeyman?
That case is over, and we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. I have nothing to do with Karen Reed.
That case is over. I have nothing to do with Karen Reed.
State of Michigan. So.
And then he says, I was in the state of Michigan. What do you even mean? Like you were on vacation?
Oh,
it's interesting to me that he and Dever both use the word encourage quite a lot.
Very suspicious.
I do not believe.
I can't believe they both use the word honest and integrity. It's just, to me, that's a conspiracy.
That he did not see, or at least was told about Dever's testimony. I have more questions than when Dever testified now that he's saying, I didn't even know that person was associated with the Karen Reed case. That doesn't even make any sense. And
defense attorney too?
Yes.
Okay, because she sounds just like Alan Jackson.
I like her a lot, though. I'm telling you,
I dislike her. I'm taking the hard line against her.
I watch her and I like her. I just disagree with her a lot.
None of the media followed up with, so you never met with her? Because he didn't say he never met with her. The question that was asked was, the defense insinuated you influenced her testimony.
Okay, so I'm telling you no, and you're not taking that for an answer. So where do we go from here? Like, you can get on YouTube and still imply that I'm lying about this, right? And it's going to shatter. What this eventually is going to do, John, is it's going to create this situation where Dever's testimony is going to be thrown out of the civil trial if it ever came to that, or Dever and Cox, they're both going to be Brady listed, so they're not going to be able to testify in anything further. So if Karen Reed files this civil rights claim in federal court that she keeps claiming that they're about to file, if they file it, they file it. So what? But what they're trying to do is erase all of the witnesses that can basically testify to the fact that, no, we did everything in good faith. Sorry to tell you. But what eventually is happening here, and this is kind of, I don't want to make any accusations. Anybody in this world today, let's move Karen Reed aside for a second, can do something very horrible, like take somebody else's life, and then they can partner up with somebody else, like you, John, and we'll call you Tortoise Boy, and you can start a GoFundMe. You can start organizing people in the streets. You can sell ribbons and T-shirts and hats, and you can harass all of the witnesses at the soccer field, and you can create all of these problems, and you're going to make a lot of money doing it. You're going to make a ton of dough, and you don't have to be truthful about it. It doesn't matter. And as a matter of fact, you're creating doubt for the person. This is the same thing they're doing with Charlie Kirk, by the way. Quit running your mouth about this conspiracy. Let the official story come out. When the official story comes out and you have questions, ask your questions then. But until then, shut up, because all you're doing is creating a situation for the defense to be able to say, Yeah, all these theories that have been pushed forward by Candace Owens or whoever, like they're all true, and so nobody gets a fair trial anymore.
We're doing their work for them, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yes.
The defense attorneys.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't even know.
This is the whole point of this video, John. This social media aspect or the YouTube aspect or the LawTube aspect of this is how we're trying cases now, and they don't have to be honest about it. They don't have to tell the truth. They don't have to be ethical. In fact, if they're unethical, it's a board of their own that investigates it. And they always point to cops. They always say, oh, you got internal affairs. Like, so if you're corrupt and your internal affairs comes in, it's just a bunch of cops covering for other cops. What do you think attorney world is? Attorney world is judges and lawyers. And if there's an ethics violation, they investigate one another. And they're all like, yeah, I've been there, There was just a judge that resigned for urinating in public on a bench. She was,
one hand washes the other, quite literally there.
Yeah, very disgusting.
She had anything to do with the Karen Reed case. It's not a comfortable, easy answer.
She's right about that. Like, it's not a comfortable, easy answer that he's giving. And my suspicion is that he knows. So, like, maybe in your conspiracy theories out there in the world, there is something coming down with the FBI. There are indictments that are coming for the Alberts or for, maybe he knows that. And he doesn't want to answer these questions because he doesn't want to get into this territory where he says something he shouldn't say.
Takes time. That's what Donna Adelson showed us. She didn't get, arrested for what, 10, 11 years?
Right.
It's like, why are you even asking me about this? Well, because Officer Devers' testimony was fucking wild.
Okay, well, that's fine. She's allowed to have wild testimony. And if it's got nothing to do with him, well, why are you hassling him? The guy's got a police department of over 3,000 people, I'm sure, in Boston. Last time I checked, which means I've never checked, but the murder rate in Boston is not 0. He's got bigger fish to fry. He's got other stuff to do than chase these stupid conspiracies or try to make you feel better about it, at least.
That's why. And she said she met with you. And she said that you were encouraging her. And you said, I encourage a lot of my officers. I didn't even know she was connected to the Karen Reed case. I do not find that to make any sense at all. Because there's no reason for her to be in your office and have a conversation if she's not connected to testifying in a high profile case and changing her testimony from what she told the FBI. There's no reason for her to be in your office. There is a reason for her to be in your office if she is going to get on the stand in front of everyone in your state and say, yeah, what I told the FBI wasn't true. I retracted my statement. It's been proven to me that what I said I saw couldn't be true. I created a false memory. Ma'am, how can you ever testify in a case ever again?
Under this theory, how can Nick Barros ever testify again? Because here's the deal. She tried to rectify that problem before she testified. He got on the stand, and by the way, she wasn't under oath. He got on the stand and swore up and down, cemented his position. I know what I testified to. And they said, okay, here's a transcript. Show me. And he's like, it's not in there. So who is the true liar? Neither of them. So don't paint them to be liars. They're not lying.
She didn't bring up on the stand that she met with the commissioner. The defense asked those questions point blank. So somewhere the meeting with the commissioner came up, either in a statement to the FBI or in other information the defense had, because they asked her about it. She didn't bring it up. So it's memorialized in some way that the defense knew to ask a question about it. I don't think she's able to testify in any other cases. I think her testimony in this case has blown up her career. And she said, I'm here to do the right thing. That had to be a created memory. A defense attorney coming into a case is going to be like, well, how do I know you didn't create the memory when you created this police report? And I imagine
because you created the conspiracy that says that she created the lie, right? And we have to take you at your word because you're a defense attorney. And we have to assume that she's lying because she's a cop. That's the way this is. And the only one on the stand is the cop. She's not on the stand.
Imagine a jury in Massachusetts sitting there with her testifying. Isn't it true that you gave a statement to the FBI and then recanted the statement and then said it's because you created the memory, you invented a memory? Can
we also address the fact that she was never the one on trial?
No.
You know, Karen Reed was the one on trial, but we're having long discussions here about police officer credibility, police officer investigation, whether or not Michael Proctor was a good cop and all this. Can't we just see the obfuscation here that's largely at play, and that we're actually discussing this stuff? That the whole point of the trial was made so that it wasn't about Karen Reed's guilt or innocence. It was about everybody else but her.
Fix your mic.
Boston 25. BPD Commissioner Cox responds to calls by Karen Reed's lawyer to be placed on the Brady list. Great. Immediately into reader mode. Just immediate yeet into reader mode, because I literally can't. Look at how much smaller this article is once we place it in reader mode.
I feel that.
Karen Reed's defense attorney, Alan Jackson, sent Mayor Michelle Wu a scathing letter. Was he slammed?
Okay, look. Let's not belabor this point. She's right about the letter that went out from Alan Jackson again to Michelle Wu. And again, there's going to be due process, you would hope, but you've smeared the name of a good man in the process. For what? To eliminate him from your civil trial because some piece of shit client somewhere just doesn't want to take responsibility. In just as much as I'm saying that, the other side is saying, well, yeah, he's like, okay. I mean, if you're that gullible, that's fine. There is a process for this, and she was acquitted. I get that. She was convicted of OUI, by the way, but there's just one last thing I wanted to point out.
The lie.
I didn't know she was even associated with that case. So.
Okay.
5 investigates breaking development.
We're kind of done with this. So look, John, there was one other, because we went way over what we normally go on, but there was one other instance where the commissioner was asked about this, and he kind of snapped and said, I need you to stop asking me questions about this. And now they're all like, they're all aghast that he said that, because they're not having their conspiracy theories satisfied. I do understand asking questions, but they have to have a basis. And your conspiracy theory is not a basis. It's if you dig a little bit deeper and you show other stuff, and he's not being forthcoming, but enough to be put on a Brady list. I mean, this guy's been a career cop, obviously. Grand Rapids police, it's not an easy town to be a police chief in. He's the Boston police commissioner, and you're just going to drag him down. I mean, he deserves to be on a Brady list, knowing he's probably not going to make it to the Brady list. But you were the first to the microphone, so congratulations. I don't like it. It's not just that I don't like it. It is so when the commissioner has to worry about this, he is taking his eye off the ball about his officer shortage. He's taking his eye off the ball about little problems that they're having with ICE and citizens having confrontation. He's taking his eye off the ball on immigrant communities being targeted, for robbery.
And all his DEI initiatives.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's to your own detriment. If you want to pump up this conspiracy theory and keep going, it's to the detriment of the people of Boston. It's their safety, because you're distracting him with bullshit. If you have something, do it. If you got something, bring it to the FBI. Otherwise, shut up. Like, yes, I understand. He said, I need you to not ask me questions about this. I put this to rest already. he snapped. Like, you never had a bad day, but it's all coming from baseless allegations. Maybe there is some basis, maybe this much, but let the guy police chief, let him commission.
Support your local sheriff, as they used to say.
I don't know about the local sheriff here. John, I have one last thing to say. It's a closing argument, and if you don't mind, do you have anything before I do my closing argument?
Yes, since this is the part of the show that will put people to sleep, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe. Make sure you check us out on all our platforms. Follow us on IG and all those great things. And make sure you're checking out our website too, especially if you are a big Karen Read fan. Go to commcenter.com/Karen Read for all the documents. We deal in truth here and not just innuendo. And we get paid like it too.
Yeah, exactly. This, by the way, is exciting. And I want you to stick around the end because I'm going to point you to the Karen Read playlist. So hear me out. It's entirely appropriate for defense attorneys to advocate fiercely for their clients, but we have to ask, at what cost? Okay? Like, what we've seen in this case isn't just legal strategy. It's a whole engineering of the narrative, and it's a new wrinkle because you're bringing social media into it. So through selective outrage, viral sound bites, curated villains, defense-aligned voices, the court of public opinion is now the second courtroom. It's the one where the truth becomes negotiable. So the perception is just going to outweigh fact. Like, the fact has left the building at this point. The techniques that are used to shape perception aren't accidental. They're completely deliberate. These documentaries that are being put out, Turtle Boys of the world, it's all emotional framing. It's control of information. It's creating in groups and out groups, and we are already divided. Okay, we don't need to be more divided. These are the textbook tools of influence. So this is the conspiracy I'm talking about. These are psyops. They're little mini psyops. And while they may not violate the rules of evidence, they erode something far more critical, John: public trust. And they're always so worried about cops and their public trust. And witnesses like Kelly Dever were cast aside, not because she was unavailable or unreliable, but because because her testimony just didn't serve their story. So that's why they went with Barros being the hero. So officials like Commissioner Cox are vilified. You can watch our episode on Before They Were Villains to see the other four that you vilified unnecessarily, though Proctor's phone is going to give him more problems, but that's a whole other episode, as I'm seeing here. But they were, look, accountability, once accountability becomes selective, it stops being about justice. It's simply about control. It's about control of the information. And the quiet danger is that these narratives don't just shape opinions about one case. They reshape how entire communities view law enforcement and the justice system, and even one another. They foster cynicism, not reform; suspicion, not safety. So tonight isn't about defending institutions blindly. You need to ask questions. But it's about refusing to let the emotional manipulation substitute for critical thinking, because that's something we lost, and that's something jurors have lost. It's all about demanding advocacy and remain rooted in the truth, not in the theatrics. Because if we allow narratives to replace evidence and outrage to replace nuance, we're not just losing the thread of one case, we're going to unravel the very fabric of how justice is supposed to work. If you want to destroy my sweater, pull the string as I walk away. This is all cops want: credibility, accountability, legitimacy, and safety. And when you undermine any one of the four, you make it dangerous for cops. That's why they're getting shot in record numbers. That's ambushed. That's why they're taking their own lives because of the social pressures. That's why your communities are unsafe, because nobody wants to work in this profession anymore. So I would caution you, think twice about throwing out an allegation that you know is baseless, that is going to destroy a 25-year-old future mother of a child just because she was sassy and she embarrassed you. John?
Well, people like Alan Jackson are all about ego and affronts and image, and they get the taste of blood, and then they love going after the little guy. They don't care about the effects that it has on the community. And of course, all of this is a coup de grace in a era of defunding the police, where police officers as the most visible and lowest line, not only of defense of our community, but as representatives of our government, are already bearing all the blame for all the problems in society and from the government, because the government, of course, wants to appeal society for their votes. So they tell society that they bear no blame for anything that's wrong in society. It's not the politicians, it's not the public, it's just the police. And this is one more thing that the police did not need. I wanted to say special thanks to everybody who donated tonight, especially Shorty Rides, who just probably wore out the magnetic strip on her card. We appreciate everything that she did, as well as Michael Hendricks and Tanner and some other people who are donating to tonight's show. Means a lot. Thanks for all the encouragement. Thanks for people who showed up in the chats tonight. I know that we had a couple commenters in here who love us when we do our takedown of Karen Reed. She is heading towards a civil suit. Now, remember, when she goes into that wrongful death courtroom, the standards for her guilt or her responsibility will be much lower, not having to prove beyond a reasonable doubt whether or not Karen Reed was responsible for the death of John O'Keefe, but merely a preponderance of evidence. And hopefully the police can this time avoid some of the pitfalls set up by Alan Jackson, who is still on the defense team. And hopefully a new jury will be able to look at everything that happened in that case, from Karen Reed's testimony to things she said outside the courtroom, to the evidence of things that are possibly locked away in her phone and elsewhere. And hopefully we can still get some measure of comfort, a quantum of solace, in other words, over the death of John O'Keefe, that we can say at least legally who was responsible for that, even if we can never expect another day in jail or punishment for that. So thank you to everybody that watched tonight, and thank you to Drew for that masterful and long presentation.
Do me a favor, leave a comment. Tell me, do you want to hear about the Michael Proctor thing? Because I'll go all in on it. I understand it's very bad. It's very bad for everybody, but this is the problem again.
I think we should do it. I think you should go take a cocaine and Gatorade break and come back and go live, and we'll do it again.
It's fruit from the poisonous tree, in my opinion, but it's going to affect a lot of, like, people are going to get away with murder because of that. Because one person didn't want to take responsibility.
It's just like the end of The Dark Knight, everybody. Remember when Harvey Dent turned evil and then he started killing all those cops and all those people? They couldn't let the truth get out, because then all the mob would get off the rap. Do you remember that? It's the same thing. It's Michael Proctor, Harvey Dent, same thing. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tonight. Drew, thanks so much for another brilliant episode. 1,000 episodes of Comm Center for 10,000 years.
10,000 years. Clarity Bureau coming soon.
Clarity Bureau coming soon. No one really knows what that is, but you'll find out about it. Fred Dreyer, only NFL player to ever get 2 safeties in a game. Have a good night, everybody.
George Papadopoulos.